McCone brought this up yesterday. And while I agree with what you said in that you think that could have been a motivating factor for why Cam Neely's like, hey, we got to do a deal here. We can't have him go into a lame duck year the same way we didn't and should not have had a coach go into a lame duck year the way they did with Jim Montgomery. Here's why it's wrong and why this doesn't solve that problem. And I think Maz said it best right out of the gate yesterday on Felger and Maz. 2 years for an executive? A 2-year extension, which only gives him 3 years total? That's kind of a joke of a contract. Maz said, they probably had to do it because of the thing that you brought up, McCone, and the thing that Gasper's talking about. How do you hire a coach when he's thinking, well, if the GM's on his way out the door, I could soon be out the door as well.
Yeah.
So you think it's short?
It's short. It's unusual. And it, as Maz even said himself, if I could paraphrase, he said, well, Don Sweeney now, he better not be thinking he's secure in the job. If he doesn't do a good job this year, he could be out the door. Oh, so the situation is the same as if he didn't even sign the contract, that if you don't do a good job, we're not bringing you back. Because a 2-year extension, whatever it is that will cost the Bruins, is not going to prohibit them from canning Don Sweeney a year from now. And so how does that contract, it's like a coaching contract in college. What do they always do? At least 4 years, if not 5. Right? Got to convince the recruits that you're here.
I'm here, yeah.
How does a 2-year extension convince any coach that Don Sweeney is safe? Explain that to me, guys. Gasper,
this is why.
Maz, McCone, any of you guys got to explain to me how a 2-year deal gives a coach all kinds of confidence that Sweeney's the guy and he'll be here a long time. Because it doesn't prove it. It doesn't send that message.
This is why
it actually reinforces the message that is already, there with a lame duck GM, which is do a good job or get fired. Doesn't solve the problem.
This is why I asked yesterday, is it just tacking on 2 years?
It is.
But it's also the fact that he's been here for over 10 years. Like, it's been a long run for him. And they've been to the playoffs. It's the first year they missed the playoffs. And he gets rewarded for it. Not really rewarded if you look at it as a short deal. And if you're the owner, and if you're the Jacobs family, aren't you telling Cam and Donnie that whoever you hire as head coach, you're not firing him? Whoever you pick, you're rolling with this guy. We're not going to fire another coach. I know that's what you like to do. I heard Felger talking about this too. Like, that's what they do. If there's an issue, you fire the coach. You can't do another coach. Can't do another coach in less than 2 years. I was asking Ty this too. Like, who the hell is the coach going to be? Because, the big names are gone. He thinks it's going to be Marco Sturm. I don't know if he said that on air, but falls in line with guys that they know, right? That's kind of what they do. They like hiring their own. They do.
Yeah, I mean, it's a rule. You've got to play.
I get it.
You've got to hire someone.
You know our system. You've been with us, right?
Cam Neely, got to hire Cam Neely. Don Sweeney, got to hire Don Sweeney.
Miguel be the head coach. Lyndon Byers. Go get him. He played here.
Marco Sturm was here for a while. How many years did he play as a Bruin?
At least 6, right?
I mean, he played in that dark era of the Bruins. Oh, boy.
We talk late 80s, early 90s.
No, 2000s.
2005 to 2010.
Yeah, I'd like to know what the Bruins' record was over the course of those 5 years. 2005.
That was pre-Chara.
That was the lockout year, right? 05? That was a shortened year. Yeah. Well, all right. Well, Marco Sturm, that's a prediction. But I'm just telling you, this doesn't solve the issue, giving him the 2-year extension. That does not solve that for me. If they had said, hey, everything we said in that press conference and everything that Charlie Jacobs told you, that he read off his piece of paper with his script, if everything he said was real, then why are you only giving him 2 years? Why is it not 3 or 4 years?
That's a good question. Do you think Cam fought for more and they said, no, we're going less?
I have no idea.
I don't know.
I don't pretend to know.
All right, so the other benefit that I've heard that I'm assuming you don't believe, too, is that this also sets it up where you're not in a situation where Don Sweeney is making moves just for this season, just to get to the postseason, and maybe not long-term benefits, but it's, hey, let me try to survive. Now that I have a 3-year deal, I can make more long-term deals. You don't think that's the case then?
No, because publicly the Bruins, to their credit, said this is now a build.
Yeah.
And how they need to build back to being a contender. They have they're not fooling themselves. They have no delusions of grandeur. Okay, they're
they're not going for
They're
it next
being
year.
pretty realistic.
Yeah.
They're not going
about
for
where
it.
they are. And so I think when you publicly state that, again, maybe you're just not going to be true to your word, but I think they know where they are. And I think they know that they have a bunch of draft capital and they've kind of traded it in for chips and it's now a build. But a 2-year contract is kind of embarrassing. Especially for a guy who's been in a job for that amount of time.
Yeah.
And if you're getting the seal of approval and the endorsement of everybody above you, which he did receive several times over the last couple of months, at the press conference in late April, at that Bruins charity event, which was earlier in the spring, late winter, whenever that was, when Charlie Jacobs spoke publicly then, they have endorsed this guy every step of the way. And then they followed up, and then weird that Cam said, they were trying to figure out what the best course of action to move forward was. They decided on a 2-year contract. The actions don't exactly match the strong endorsement we heard. I mean, it matches the endorsement, but not to the degree that they were all about Don Sweeney being the guy for the job.
They're kind of stuck. Call for what it is. They're kind of stuck. It's not like they're clearing the decks and bringing in a new guy and they got a new vision. It's going to be the same thing.
It's almost like they're rooting for Don Sweeney. They like Don Sweeney. They want him to do well. They want their team to turn it around. And they're hoping it happens, but they want the ability to wiggle out of this and fire him if they don't. They're trying to have the best of both worlds, is what they're having. 2-year deal. That doesn't entice anybody. Plus, they've done enough damage to the coaching job in Boston that the thing at the top of the list should be, I don't know that I want to go to the Bruins. They tend to fire a lot of coaches and blame them on the way out the door.
Said that 3 weeks ago.
I mean, that's damage to the job.